Hello, everybody. Okay, everything seems to be all right. Let's check here, make sure everything's all right. We have usual check-ins from Elizabeth. Hello there, Elizabeth, from email. And she says, thank you for answering the questions on the Wednesday show. And she says, hello to everybody. Hope everybody's all right. We have, so Elizabeth's in Regina, Saskatchewan. We have Robert checking in from Roswell, New Mexico, saying hello. Looking forward for another Friday show. He says that the Friday show is the only one that I can actually watch because of my schedule. And thanks for everything you do. And we've got Frank checking in from New York City. Says hello from lockdown New York City. He says this is the city that never sleeps, but it looks like it's sleeping right now. I've seen some pictures. It's pretty amazing. Says thank you for doing these live shows. They are amazing and change our minds of everyday problems. Thank you very much, Frank. Nice to have you here. So 3 people checked in from email. And if you want to check in by email, by the way, official Shortwave Radio at gmail.com. And nice to have everybody on board. Zachary Antle says, it's going to be interesting to see if the long-term effect of quarantine will be on people's mental health. Hey, I'm already a little crazy. Can be worse. So, welcome aboard. This is the live shortwave show. This is the show where we talk about radio. This is a show where we have fun with radio. We simply tune in the bands and answer questions and just have fun with something that a lot of people, even today, think is an old school technology. It's just like people talking about amateur radio. How many times do we hear people saying, wow, amateur radio, that still exists in 2020? And I think that's where we're all, it's important for us all to kind of, propagate a little bit more of our hobby. We're not all, we're not all, going to go live like I do and do 3-hour shows or whatever. But we can spread the news of amateur radio and radio listening in general. I think in a way that is to show how important it is. That's the thing. For most people, amateur radio and CB radio in their head is the same thing. And for them, it's a hobby, and guys are buying radios, they're buying their toys, and that's it. And a lot of people don't know that actually amateur radio has such importance. And we've seen it several times. Every time there's a disaster, every time there's something big happening, amateur radio is at the forefront of all of it. 1998 here and the ice storm a couple of years ago with hurricanes in Puerto Rico and all of that. Even in Florida, we see that when the general system goes down, amateur radio is there to take the place of communications and make sure that everybody, stays safe. And so we got to promote that side of amateur radio, that it's not just, yes, it is a hobby, but it's also important. And it's also important what can be done with amateur radio. And a lot of people don't know, but I was talking with my brother many months ago, maybe even a year ago. We came across radio and amateur radio, and of course, that's the kind of topic you talk with your brother for about a minute and a half before you have that stare that, okay, well, that's kind of a boring conversation. Can we talk about something else? Which is probably what a lot of us have to deal with when we talk about radio, shortwave radio, amateur radio, and so on. And he's part of those people that still wonder why amateur radio is still something today with the internet. And there was a post on my a comment on my channel this week that I saw. I think it was posted yesterday or the day before. He says, why shortwave radio? We do all of this with our phones and our and the internet. And yeah, but no, that's the thing. That's a misunderstanding of exactly what it is and all of this is. And in times of crisis, the internet can be shut down. We talk about it from time to time. It can be turned off. We've seen countries where things went sour and suddenly, you know what? The internet is shut down. And amateur radio, well, you don't shut down amateur radio. They are still there. You still can listen to shortwave radio in the world. It's something important to understand also. And we're coming into World Amateur Radio Day this April 18th. And that is a great example of, a great day to talk about it and get on the air and, help out. And like I was telling my brothers, a lot of the technologies we use today, radio, have their roots in amateur radio. Some of the technologies, the radio technologies that we use with our smartphones, because these are transceivers. People don't think of that. They're not magically working and receiving stuff. They have radios. They have transmitters. This is a transceiver. What it sends out and receives is data. It's digital. But a lot of the technology, the digital technology off of this, the way that things work with all of this, well, amateur radio operators were the first to experiment with this. They were the first to understand that, hey, we could do this in a different way. And it still continues today. Look at all the modes that we're getting today. For a long time, people were saying, hey, CW, Morse code, is the only thing that can go through noise and still be heard and received. And for a long time, it was true that CW, Morse code, was the best, weak signal mode that existed out there, probably. Then came some really, really good digital modes, FT8, JT65. These things, these modes, you hear nothing, and the computer tells you there's something there. It tells you, gives you identification of stations. They beat Morse code in how they can really receive very weak signals. And well, that experimenting, those new modes, those new digital modes are all there to help us, in future technologies. Some of the basics of all of this is going to be used in some future technology that we'll have and that kids will have and so on. So, it's interesting, but we're here to talk about that. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. That's the northeast part of North America. We are here twice a week. We are here on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's 0 hours Universal Time. We're here on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 20 hours Universal Time. And we are here to talk about radio. And we are a big bunch of amazing radio fans that gather together here and have a lot of fun with radio. We tune the bands, we answer questions. There's a lot of newbies in there. There's a lot of people that just bought their first radio. And, we think, oh, well, somebody that's a 50-year-old man bought a new radio? No. We got people in there that are teenagers. We've got people in there that are, young adults that purchased, because of this, their first shortwave receiver and are just having a blast with what it can do. And it's cool to see that. It's cool to see that there's still some people out there. There's still some younger generation out there that is amazed by this technology. And there's a beautiful chat room with very beautiful people that are amazing. And all you need is a Gmail account in order for this to actually work. And you just join in, say hello to everybody. You can say hello through email. You can send me a message through officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. And this will be, I'll get it. And I'll, if you wish me to say hi to everybody, I'll do it. It's always nice to have you on board. When you write, let us know where you are. If you're in the chat room, write down where you are. It's fun to know where everybody is around the world. Over time, I've come to, by heart, know where a lot of people are. I still miss some. There's still some that haven't gone into my brain yet. But it's really a lot of fun to know where everybody is. You don't have to give your postal address. What state or just a country. That's cool. There's a Facebook group that goes with this. Yep, because we're having a lot of fun when we're together here. But when this ends, for a long time, people went back to their basement or their little man cave, and we're alone again doing what they do, radio, because we talk about this so often. It's a solitary hobby. And for the most part, we don't have, a friend with us to listen to the radio. As a matter of fact, most of our friends are often annoyed at this. I was lucky when I was young because one of my best friends actually bought also a realistic DX100 and was fascinated with receiving shortwave signals. So that was kind of cool because without him, I would have been alone doing my hobby pretty much. So you go to the Facebook group, and it has the same name as the channel here, Official SWL Channel. And you answer the radio questions, and you're in. There's a little something that I just am a little not sure about, not accepting people that have created a Facebook group like 10 minutes before they want to be on the Facebook group. I have a hard time with that because I don't know you. I don't know who you are. If you are one of those that is creating a Facebook account because you don't have one, just because you want to be in the group, drop me a line, official shortwave channel @gmail.com, and let me know, hey, I'm that guy in the chat room. I've just opened an account because I hesitate in getting people that are, that created an account like, 30 minutes before they actually became Facebook, asked for the Facebook membership. And because I don't know who you are, and we don't want to have trolls. We want to make sure that it's clean. Don't forget, guys, I've had a few people, kind of send me messages about some content. Very important. Nothing political, nothing about the virus, nothing about, basically nothing about that about anything that's not radio. We don't want to have stuff other than radio. I know you could have some really cool interest and want to share it and so on, because I mean, it is a very friendly group. So you can at some point kind of think, well, I like doing this, so I'm gonna, share it with everybody. But we try to keep it radio, and we try to keep it with zero political, zero religion posts, just radio, and nothing more. What we're listening to, questions about radio or anything radio, as long as it's radio, we're okay with it. So just be careful with the kind of posts. I did ban a couple of people because they repeatedly kind of didn't understand that they have to stay in the radio and nothing more than that. But for the most part, what I did is I mostly removed the posts that people signaled, but that were obviously very innocent and had no problem. But I will not hesitate to remove anybody that starts either ranting for nothing or talking about religion or politics or anything like that from the group. I think we got to keep it clean. There are other groups out there. You want to talk politics? There's tons and tons of places where you'll be able to talk politics. There are tons of places where you can talk about religion. This group is not for that. So let's just keep it clean. And thank you so much. It's pretty clean in general, but sometimes it's understanding we got to just stay in a sphere of a subject and be there. So, hello everyone, and hope everyone is safe. I'll have my first sip of a drink, actually, my vodka orange juice. I had a hard time finding orange juice. There was an article or a TV or an article in the newspaper about how orange juice might protect you against the virus. Since that article was published, there's no more orange juice anywhere. So I was lucky to get the 2 last 1 liter containers at the groceries today. So cheers, everybody. Mark Cope, nice to have you here from Dallas, Texas, W85153SWL. Bobby Burgess in Morgan City, Louisiana, USA, WA5107 SWL. Did I say 50? So the first one is 5153 SWL. Bobby Burgess is 5107 SWL. Terry Cook, KF7BQ in Montana. Jeff Williams, nice to have you here from Southwest Cornwall, UK. James Farley, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Sheldon Harvey, that I talked to this afternoon. We recorded the world-renowned international radio report that we'll be hearing on Sunday morning. So don't forget, guys, there's a nice, fantastic show called the International Radio Report. And it is on ckut.ca that you can hear that. Local here in Montreal, around Montreal area, 90.3 FM on CKUT. And it is on Sunday at 14:30 UTC. That's 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And of course, you can stream it and listen to our excellent show. You can go to ckut.ca for the archive. There's 3 months of shows there. And hey, we are at, what is it, a month? I think it's the 4th pre-recorded show, because of course we can't get to the studios. So yeah, a month already. Time does fly, even though for a lot of us, we're stuck inside. Time does fly, actually. So nice to have you here, Sheldon. And of course, it was nice to do the show today. Rob in Phoenix, Arizona. Nice to have you here. Eyebrawler. Nice to have you on board from Arkansas. Cyberflower 1. Nice to have you here. Joe Rudman, nice to have you on board. Joe from Chicago. René Charbonnier, PA0056SWL. Nice to have you on board. Good evening. And he hopes everybody is healthy. Rodolfo65, nice to have you here from New York City. Liam, nice to have you here. Liam Conlon, nice to have you on board from Ireland. We have Rufus Newt in Laurentian Valley, Ontario. Old Radio Man, nice to have you here from Northeast Tennessee. Pablo Rondina, nice to have you here, Pablo. ¿Cómo está mi amigo? Desde Buenos Aires, Argentina. PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue. J'espère que ça va bien et que tout va bien dans ton coin de pays de la France. Jersey Bound, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Eric Cottrell, nice to have you on board. And all through work for today. Cool. Now time to relax. Turn on all those radios you've got, Eric, and have fun. RFDXer, nice to have you here from Southeast Colorado. Zach Ariental, nice to have you here. Everybody saying hello to Elizabeth, Robert, and Frank, I'm sure. So pretty nice to have everybody on board. Roberto Rojas, buenas tardes, mi amigo. Chin chin. Scott Cranston, nice to have you here from Massachusetts in the USA. Hubert Major. Oops, I lost my place. I'm here. I lost my place. Okay. Here we go. So, Hubert Major, nice to have you here from Montréal, Hubert. Salut et bienvenue. Nice to have you here. Trond, what are you doing in the hospital in Norway? Hope you are not too bad position. Hope you're getting better, my friend. Nice to have you on board from Norway. Well, change your mind of anything hospital. Keegan, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas, XN80Xer. Brian Penny, nice to have you here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Paul the Cat will have food now for a little while. What else do we have? Zachary Owens, nice to have you here from Virginia. Kevin Wood from Nova Scotia, Canada. Pretty cool. We have John Bolton. Nice to have you on board. KE0PCI. Pretty cool. John Bolton says, when there are adverse conditions, phone, cell phone, and internet are always the first things to fail. Yep, pretty much. The Blind Picker, nice to have you on board, Rob, W0RAB in Connecticut. And he's a blind ham. And of course, we have Elizabeth, that is a blind shortwave radio listener. It's nice to see that radio can lift up our spirits and help us in another way to communicate with people. Fast Load, nice to have you here from Montreal. Joe Sombra Newhouse, nice to have you here from Brazil. Dan V, nice to have you here. He says hello to the RF nerds from Ohio and 8WJZ. Nice to have you here. Dijon, nice to have you here from Bavaria, Germany. One thing I would like to ask everybody right now. So I'm going to actually tune it here to see if I get anything. I don't see anything. Can you guys do a little something for me? So there's a new digital transmission. There's a schedule around this from Radio Chukotka in Russia. They are using DRM. And they are apparently right now on the air until 23 UT 9850. Can anybody check 9850 and see if they hear a DRM transmission on that frequency. Sounds like a digital hash. Because I'd be curious to know, is it officially on? I know that in the past, a couple of people have said they heard it, but I'm kind of curious. So anybody hearing DRM signal on 9850 kilohertz? Jean-Marc Letts, nice to have you on board. Bonjour de Strasbourg en France. Vince Perrault, salut, bienvenue. Nice to have you here from just out of Montreal a little bit. DGen says the German Postal Service is really getting me fed up. My Gisu FRG7 was said to be delivered on Tuesday, and it hasn't been delivered yet. Yeah, that's sad. With all that's happening, there probably are some delays. Here, I know that Canada Post did warn everybody. The packages might not arrive at the official date or time that you should have them. Larry Cordy, nice to have you here. KB2DYU. RTF Droney, nice to have you here from the Netherlands. Degen, the parcel is stuck in the sorting office just 7 kilometers away. I could already picked it up myself. Of the Dawn, nice to have you on board. Radios have gone up in price a lot lately. Yeah, it depends on the source where you go and purchase them, but there are some that the other day, what did we see the other day? That the what radio was it? I'm trying to remember. One radio that we were looking at was like $300. Crazy. Erica Trell says, starting to rain in addition to the wind. Here it's kind of the sun and clouds type weather, but it's kind of a little cool. Well, it's moved up to 7 degrees Celsius, which is what, in the 40s. So lower 40s. Doug Heavens, nice to have you here, Doug. It was much cooler back in the 80s. Yeah, but we've got to basically just make sure that we do the best with what we have. Scott Branson, Texan PL 660 on the way. William Helms, nice to have you on board, my friend. William Helms in Florida. What else do we have? Larry, nice to have you here. Kevin Jane Apollo from Point Beach, New Jersey, WS2H. Nice to have you on board. G. Lee, nice to have you here, my friend. WA6120SWL from Fresno, California. Trond, Sanjin ATS 808 on its way to my mailbox. That is cool. James Farley, does anyone have a Panasonic RF 4900? Is it good? I think it was Mr. Carlson's lab. Let me just make sure that we're talking about the same radio here, but I think it is. So Panasonic RF 4900. Yeah. And Mr. Carlson's lab has a video on this radio. And what he says, so the radio is a very unique and complex receiver. And when it works, apparently it works quite well. The breaking point, what he was saying is the breaking point is in the display of the frequency. Because apparently the frequency display is kind of it's a sort of fluorescent tubing that gives the display. And when that doesn't work, it's better not to buy the radio because there's no replacement available for that. So that was the part that you said, if that thing doesn't work, if the frequency readout is broken, forget it. Forget it. Don't buy it. But for the rest, he took it apart. He cleaned one. He had one. He cleaned it up and showed how it was built inside. And it is a nice receiver. It's one of those nice, old, sexy radios. When you look at it, it's like, wow, they just look so cool. A lot of older radios look so cool. Esteban, ¿cómo está? Mi amigo donde Canary Islands. Nice to have you here. Mr. Simba, nice to have you on board. XH Data Radio now is in black. Looks great. Must be nice. Mine is the gray one, which is not bad, actually. But I got to say, in black, probably is very nice also. Rick Satter, nice to have you here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Santé, Fastload. Of the Dawn, is that screwdriver 80% vodka? No, it's more like about I don't know. There's a 3 ounces of vodka in all of the glass. So that's pretty much it. The rest is filled with a mix of diet Sprite and orange juice. Scott Ranston, I'm sure the story about orange juice protecting you was planted by the orange juice producers. Morrison AV, nice to have you here from Florida. Ronald Zucala, nice to have you here from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hope everybody's doing well. Atena Don Tolota, nice to have you here from New Jersey. KD2AKN, nice to have you here. PLF Radio, now you have 3 shows a week. Well, not officially. So basically, I'm just gonna, do this. Here we go. Sorry, guys, but I have 0 patience for idiots today. So when somebody posts in the chat room, where's the chat room? I just can't. PLF Radio. No, not officially. Basically, the shows on Sunday are temporary and will probably not happen every week. It depends on, how my Sunday went and if I feel like it. It doesn't show, but it takes a lot of energy to actually drive a show. Because you got to talk all the time. You got to be alert. You can't just sit here and, tune the bands for 45 minutes without saying a word. That's going to bore the hell out of everybody. So you got to be alert. You got to talk. You got to exchange. So having 3 shows a week is big. Bigger than you think. It's actually something. When I end a show, I'm actually kind of mentally tired. And this is, where I decide on my Sunday show. I decide sometime in the afternoon. It generally builds up. I wake up in the morning. I'm like, no show today because I'm, still half asleep. Then, I have my coffee and I go through to the Sunday and look how things go. And at some point, I just get to, okay, let's do a show. But it all also depends on the schedule, what I'm doing and what I'm going to eat. And, is there something I want to watch on TV or, So don't expect the Sunday show to always be there. It's there when I feel like it. One thing for sure is when all of this is over and I get my regular Sunday back, there will probably not be any Sunday show anymore. I'll be back at going out with friends to a bar on Sunday nights. But It can be there, it can not be there. Don't expect it to be there officially all the time. René Charbonnier, I think this is the most respectful group on the internet. Cool. Hey, Mad Boy. Nice to have you on board. Warning, might be a bit tipsy. That's all right. That's all right. Joe, nice to have you on board from Oman. Cool. Rebel Foxy, nice to have you on board out of Washington. We have. Let me just go. Okay. JD Williamson just got home from work. Cool. You'll be able to relax and enjoy the show. Sheldon Harvey is, of course, plugging the fantastic Canadian International DX Club. There's a possibility of a sample bulletin, cidxclub@yahoo.com. And there's a lot of information in there that you can use for your radio hobby. It's a very nice PDF publication every month. And of course, it's not just Canadian content. It's not just what's happening in Canada. It's really a lot of information of radio in general, every aspect of radio, and everybody will have some side to it. There's some really, really nice articles in there. There's a cool beginners corner where that Brian Penny has started, where we, of course, talk about radio basics, which is nice for newbies and people that just start out the hobby. Like to listen to utilities? Hey, I'm the king of the utility column. And there's amateur radio information. There's Arctic DX information. There's, of course, logging columns. There's QSL columns. And there's amateur radio stuff, general news about radio, and links to, and really, really good sites for schedules and information about shortwave and radio in general. It's really, really a nice bulletin and very inexpensive. You can ask Sheldon, cidxclub@yahoo.com, for a sample copy. And basically, that is going to, he's going to say, if you never asked before, very important, he's going to send you a sample. And you can, of course, become a member. And why not check it out? Nicodarius, nice to have you on board. This is the place where Paul is adored. Yes. Mickey Dalmage, bonjour. Nice to have you here. Just found a recording I did of Midwest Radio Ireland on shortwave, March 1796. Anyone remember that special broadcast? Oh, man, I don't remember that. It was relayed by the BBC, probably. 96. In the 90s, there were years where I didn't listen a lot. I was like an up and down thing in the 90s for radio for me. There were times when I would listen a lot. There were times that there were times when I listened almost nothing. So there are things I probably did miss somewhere in there. Scott Branson, KT4NZJ, Southeast US. Russ Gladden, nice to have you on board. Salut. D'Ottawa, nice to have you here from Ottawa. Scott Cranston, Radio Saudi, 11820, 11820. Let's check it out. 11820. And yeah, it's a pretty good signal here too. Pretty good signal. There's also Radio Romania English right now. 11850. Radio Romania English on two frequencies right now, 11850 and 13650. Roland, nice to have you here from North Germany. Steve Miller, nice to have you here from Arizona. HB, nice to have you on board, M0AYO, and the UK. Mark Rich, nice to have you on board from Europe. Warm and sunny in West England today. Cool. Catalin Alb, nice to have you here, Catalin. The Osmocom project is demystified the GSM along with SDRs that are able to create an open source GSM based station so mobile phones can be used off grid. Huh. Nice to have you here from Germany. Rook, nice to have you on board from sunny Wales in the UK. Radioactive, nice to have you on board. Good afternoon. Steve Austin, nice to have you here from Liverpool, England. And 3-year renewal to Rodolfo. Cool. Let's keep our members. Rebel Foxy got a Motorola HT1250 VHF transceiver. Mad Boy, nothing but silence here on 9850. RFDXer, 9850 DRM, nothing in Colorado. It's coming from Russia. Radioactive, nothing there. Steve Miller, nada in Arizona. I think probably more maybe in Europe because it's, I think, for more like the Asian part of Russia, if I'm not mistaken. RTF Droney says nothing in the Netherlands. So that's kind of interesting. Are they on the air or not? Joe Sombrania says nothing with his Texan PL 600. Mickey Dalmage, not even a blip on 9850 here in central Alberta. iBrawler, nothing on 9850. Mark Cobb, 0 in Texas. James Farley, nothing. JD Williamson, 9850, nothing here in Northeast Netherlands. So I have the impression that I'm wondering if they are on the air or not. Glenn, USA, nice to have you here. 9850, nothing in Wyoming. So, kind of interesting. Okay, interesting. Vince Perrault, nothing in De Montagne. Here I didn't see anything at all. Shortwave frequency channel, welcome aboard. Nothing in the UK on 9850. So this is a nice moment here because I ask everybody to tune in and try it. Nobody's hearing anything on 9850. So are they on? Are they not on the air? That's kind of interesting. Zanzibar, nice to have you here. Just order a PL600 coming in a month. So nice to have you here. Cool. Shortwave frequency channel from Sweden. Nice to have you here. PLF radio is nothing from U20 on 9850. So, James Farley, when is my K180 coming? Well, I think it's not even shipped yet. I haven't had notification of shipment. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Keegan has nothing on 9850 in Northwest Arkansas. Terry Cook, nothing on 9850. Steve Miller, RF 4800. Is the 4800 that is the with the fluorescent tubing thing? Jim Mutter, nice to have you here, Jim, from Prospect, Connecticut. Nothing on 9850. Yeah, PLF Radio, I was hearing that they are having issues with the antenna apparently on the U20. Hope they fix it. They fix it soon because it's one of the really amazing receivers. Something French on 9730. What's on 9730 at this time? Voice of Vietnam. He is in French. 2030 to 2100, 9730. So you might be listening to the Voice of Vietnam, J.D. Williamson. Mad Reader DXer, nice to have you here. Archer's Alley Crafter's Kitchen, nice to have you here from Massachusetts. Just survived a grocery store. Fred Newland, nice to have you here. Radio Stereo España booming on 9690. Let's check it out. Very strong, absolutely. Really good signal from Spain on 9690. Lee Burkett, nice to have you here, Lee. been shortwave listening and listening to medium wave frequencies on his Texan. You'd be surprised how many there are, even just using telescopic. Oh yeah, once you go outside where the noise level is down, it's crazy what we get. Mark Cope, channel radio in English from Mali, strong on 13630. Let's check it out. That's pretty good. 11640 also is not bad. Two frequencies from Mali there. 11640 and 13630. But they're not bad. Channel Radio International relayed by Mali and Africa. Pretty good. Pretty good. And the audio is good too. One of the problems they had at the beginning is the audio was weak. RFD Exter 9690, Radio Exterior from Spain, S9 into Southeast Colorado. They're still out of English or any other language broadcast right now from Spain. Anybody that wants to listen to their broadcast in English, they are right now just playing the national Spain broadcast. So I guess it's going to resume when English and French and Portuguese will resume when things get a little better and safer for everyone. Catalan has nothing, no DRM 9850, just a faint signal, but no trace of DRM. Indoor MLA 30. So maybe they're not on. Orders out of Crafter's Kitchen. Tip on old tabletop receivers. I have an ICOM R71A. I listen to daily. It's a great set, but parts are indeed getting harder to find. ICOM no longer stocks parts. Even beaters now are very pricey. A lot of the old radios are getting it's getting more and more difficult to find parts. What the Mr. Carlson's lab was saying is that in general, it's when there's a very unique part that it's difficult to find, because in repairing old radios, if it's the general circuit board with the general parts, you can cope and find something. Sometimes you'll find a part that isn't exactly the same, but will replace an existing one. It's when you need a very specific part that is only for that radio that it's darn difficult to really find something now. $9,800 is in Arabic, and it's World's Last Chance broadcast. So this is the broadcast that usually comes from WBCQ 9330, but probably because WPCQ just can't get the signal out properly, they are renting time on other transmitters. So 9800 up to 21 UT is World's Last Chance Arabic transmission, and this comes from Wolverhampton in the UK. So that's what you're listening to on 9800. And there was some more news on about the 9330 superstation WBCQ. Alan Wiener was saying that they have it's very difficult to tune that transmitter, and he's still learning how to use it. And that for now they're stuck on 9330 and don't know what to do to actually broadcast on other frequencies. I mean, come on, it's everything looks like a big joke. And Bartrina, nice to have you on board from Barcelona, Spain. Thank goodness propagation is improving. Cool. More stuff to listen to the radio. Mark Rich, do you know if the Texan 990 is now in proper production? Do you think we will see it before end of summer? What I know is that it's delayed, and that we're not sure it's yet in production. From what I've seen, pretty much all the 990s that showed up on eBay and everywhere are the original ones, and the 990 that's going to come out in the future is different. It's kind of a revision 2 of the radio. So for now, there's really no news, but for the last I heard or read about it a couple of weeks ago was that it probably would not be before the fall that people might see it, because the factories are just now starting to get back and rolling in China. Rebel Foxy, does anyone remember this one radio that they sold at Radio Shack? It looked like an original iPod. Looked like an original iPod. Let me think. I'm trying to think of radios at Radio Shack that looked like that. The only thing I can think of is those TVs that they sold back then, battery operated TVs. Understand the times. Nice to have you here, Tom. KC8KSK in South Carolina. Pretty cool to have everybody on board. Trying to remember that radio, Rebel Foxy, but doesn't come to mind here. Maybe somebody does. Artist Ali Crafters says the R71A is like an old car. People fall in love with them and discover they are half vintage computer or half radio. Yeah, it is a beautiful radio. I remember in all the radios of that era, I remember the R71A for me struck. There's something really sexy about it. Vince, Jill, and everyone, I just posted a picture on the Facebook group. Anyone have the same thing happening? Still doing it at the moment. Okay, let's check it out here. Here. So this. So these are all harmonics because they're all spaced the same. Sounds like some kind of. It's weird. Sounds like some kind of. Looks like some kind of local noise. You're getting something. So it doesn't do it all the time, Vince? Linda, nice to have you on board from Finland. Jerry DX, nice to have you on board, my friend. Rifleman 336 and 8 UCN from Southwest Ohio. Just got back from the post office, mailing my payment for a 3-year CIDX membership. Cool. Welcome aboard. You're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to find it really interesting. Mad Radio DXer, my silent years of shortwave after I found a hobby in the mid-'80s was from 1996 to 2005. Hobby started again when I moved to a quieter location. My ups and downs of the hobby went a lot with a mix of two things: my personal life and my jobs that I had. So when I would, have certain types of jobs, I would listen to radio more. I remember I had one job that I worked in the evening. It was a 3 p.m. to midnight shift. And I remember when I had that shift, I didn't listen to radio. I had to listen in the morning, and that was nothing. I was not listening to the radio in that period of time. I listened a lot when I left one of my first jobs and had unemployment insurance for a year. And that gave me time. I had the time and listened a lot then. And depending on the jobs and the things that you had to do, I was an off and on thing. But what prevailed probably a lot is when I had daytime jobs, like 9 to 5, 8 to 4. my evenings were usually shortwave with a little portable, taking it easy, and or inside with the in the summertime was like with the portable on the balcony. In the wintertime, it was with the Kenwood R5000 at home. But and of course there's a personal life, meeting someone, and or even the social life. Sometimes you kind of move away, then come back to it. Javen Robbins Milligan, do you remember KC2XIO, experimental broadcast run by WWV, National Bureau of Standards? That rings a bell, yes. Jim Gordon, anyone know about anything about the Kodar range of shortwave radios, which were marketed in the UK in the 70s and were said to be of Canadian origin? Huh. Jojo, nice to have you on board in California. KM6EHD. Good thing you are here to accompany us frontliners. Awaiting for my oldie to arrive, ICOM 2GX80. Wow, cool. Jasmine, nice to have you on board from Seattle. Johnny DXer, nice to have you here from a windy Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. W3 JMC. What else do we have? Helium Conlon. Everybody needs to take it easy. RFDXer, 13650, Romania S5. Sheldon Harvey, checked some Far East SDRs online and nothing on 9850. If they're targeting Eastern Russia, one of those SDRs should be hearing it, but nothing found. So I don't think they're on the air. Because I do remember when they tested, I really remember somebody and told me they were hearing a DRM broadcast, and I remember it was in the 25-meter band, 11.8 something. And and I couldn't hear it here, but that person really heard it, and it was the only thing that could be possible was that it was that Russian DRM. It was the only thing that was DRM on that frequency at that time. So this is interesting. So they don't seem to be on the air. 9850. You would have heard them for sure with Far East SDRs. So kind of interesting here. And nobody's hearing it nowhere. So they can't be transmitting. Nissan Greenwich, nice to have you on board in Dublin. Says 9850 is quiet. JD Williamson, time for a beer. Yes. Ray Kelly has Radio Thailand coming in on 9920. I heard it a couple of weeks ago. Is it coming in here? Very weak, but it's there. Definitely there's a signal, but it's very weak in Montreal. 9920. But maybe 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks or a month ago, it was strong enough that I could make out the English broadcast. Rifleman 336, is your radio club meeting locally yet? Well, if you mean CIDX, we meet like twice a year at the in the winter Christmas dinner and the summer barbecue. Icadarius, just reminded myself that you never sent me your address info. Oh yeah, I gotta send you that. I will send it after the show tonight, promise. It's gonna be there. Jerry DX, nothing on 9850. Joe Rudman, Radio Romania, 13650. S9 to Chicago. Drake TR7 and HF Vertical. Cool. Steve Miller, RF 4800. Yes. We were the old Radio West shortwave dealers from California. Okay. Oh, interesting. So on the 4800, if that display is broken, forget it. You're not getting a replacement. Jerry DX, waiting on fish and chips. Cool. Making me hungry. I've got some salmon for supper. Madrid DX or nothing on 8850 in South UK. Joe Rodman, who is on 9420. It's Greece, voice of Greece. And it is pretty good. Yeah. Voice of Greece. 9420. Pretty strong. They do have some really nice Greek music. So just checking the email here. Everything seems to be okay. So RFDXer 11820, broadcasting of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Week into Colorado. Radioactive, hearing some Navtex, weather Navtex 12577.5 upper sideband. NMO Hawaii. Wow. Cool. Let's see if I hear anything here. 12577. I get anything here? Nothing heard over here. Ray Kelly, Voice of Greece. Yep, Voice of Greece. Tom DXer. Nice to have you here from the lower Hudson Valley, New York. Jaspin, English is the second official language of Thailand. Oh, I didn't know that. Thanks for letting us know. Ray Kelly, Radio Thailand changed to Thai language at 45 past the hour. Tom DXer is rearranging his shack to put up his U-loop antenna and set up my AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. Cool. PLF Radio, nothing for him on 13630. Great community. Everybody's helping out here. What's this station? What's that? And we get an answer almost instantly. It's pretty cool. Man. PLF Radio 9800 is very strong. You're closer there because it comes from the UK. So RFDXer 9420, Voice of Greece, hitting S9 in Southeast Colorado. Jerry Markharten, nice to have you here from Finland. Jerry Markharten. Jerry DX, Canadian military has been dispatched to Toronto, maybe Quebec. Stay tuned. Yeah, I think the provinces need to ask for it. What else do we have? Manuel, nice to have you on board from North Mexico. Daniel Clark from England. X80Xer has 14670 CHU. What is Ethan Grenadier Edition Field BT Radio? Petef Barrett, nice to have you here, my friend. And yes, I am safe. Mansfield, UK. We have Rifleman 336. At least WBCQ didn't decide to play with steam rockets instead of radio transmitters to prove the Earth is flat. Yeah. There's other crafters. Alan Wiener just wants to fleece listeners who donate. How many millions did he raise? And they still can't tune the transmitter. Come on. Yeah, it's a pretty big joke, that thing, honestly. Wilbur Fossier, nice to have you on board. The Lone Wolf, Ottawa, VA3 BNS. Nice to have you here from Ottawa. Thank you for all your videos. Help me pass my ham radio license. Wow, cool. Cool. Understand the time. It's 9800, about S55 here in for me. Sony 7600 GR, just on telescopic. Paul Alice, nice to have you here. 2E0ICE. What else do we have? No, I'm not set up right now, JD Williamson, to screen share. I will need to I don't need to set up differently. I'm working on setting up OBS Studio. I'm just a little lazy with all the things I do. Joe, somebody new asked 9800 week. Vince Pero, first time today, it stops for a couple of seconds, sometimes a couple of minutes, then starts back. Signal pattern is not always the same. That's weird. There's definitely something in your area, Vince, that's creating that. But it's kind of weird. Eamon Cronin, nice to have you on board. G4TZV in the UK. Joe Sombra US 9820 S2. China Radio 9820. Anything here on 9820? I've got a week. There's something very, very weak here on 9820. If I look at the schedules, 9820 at this time is CNR2. It's Chinese China Business Radio, which is CNR2. That's pretty much what we have on 9820 at this time. So there's a slight opening to Asia on the 31 meter band. So it's not impossible that it's that. Just make sure you're not. No, it's not this time. So 08201. Yes, it is at this time. There's a station 9818.6, which is apparently from Brazil. So in Portuguese, that's if it's off frequency low, it could be that. Catalan, SDR Uno so it depends on how it works, because I know that I haven't played with it yet, but SDR Uno has the capacity of having virtual COM ports. So if it can control COM ports from a radio, like an ICOM, for example, the software will be able to control SDR Uno technically. PD5 DRE, nice to have you on board. Vincent in the Netherlands. Pretty cool. Jasmine. So speaking of meeting someone, I met R. Walker. Really nice guy. He's 25 and 23. When his virus stuff is over, he said, "I'll hang out in the park and tune stuff on the portable." Cool. Rifle Brand 336. Rifle Brand 336. Okay, no problem. I'll check it out. Jasmine said, "Never thought I'd meet someone from the chat." That's cool. It's cool. Johnny DXer S7 into Philadelphia for Greece on 9420. But that's nice. Totally nice. Matt in DK2 in Colorado. Nice to have you here. It is nice. And nothing like meeting someone that has the same passion that we have. Imagine, that's even more interesting. And yes, we're an hour and 8 minutes, and you're watching the Shortwave Show from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We tune the bands and check out what's happening. And 180 viewers right now, which is nice. And it's the Friday show, of course. We are live twice a week, Wednesday, Friday, and sometimes on Sunday. Lately, it's been a Sunday show. Depends on Sundays. Mark Rich, which SDR radio are you using with the big screen behind you? The SDR Play RSPDX. SDR Play RSPDX. And that's SDR Uno software. King Cali, the buzzer. It's too early here for that. Lee Burkett, I know how to change my Texan, charge my Texan correctly. The receiver uses intelligent charging and works out the power consumption when the Texan is switched off. So cool. PLF Radio, I saw your video with the Sanji and ATS 909X. You have a great signals even on the telescopic antenna. Yeah, that video with you mean the one with the WRMI broadcast of Supreme Master TV 15770, I think. Ehab, nice to have you here from Brussels. Good night, René Charbonnier. See you again. And always nice to see you in the Facebook group, posting pictures of what you're doing with radios. Always fun to watch. Jay Watterson 69, nice to have you on board. Jasmine, definitely set up OBS Studio. Opens up so many things. Yeah, I know. I need to really to check it out. RJG Dakota checking in. Nice to have you here. WF7i Homebrew. I was wondering, is there a way to view some of your older videos? YouTube is blocking me from scrolling the entire span of time. That's weird. You should normally be able to see everything. So you say that you go to my YouTube channel. Let me just check it out here. YouTube. Is there a way to... So let's say I click videos. Okay, videos. And then I go on the right side. Have you tried... So when you go to YouTube, on the channel, you will have one tab that says videos. You click on that. And there, just above the small screens of my videos posted, on the right side, it says you can actually check by most popular, most recent, or there's an option that says the oldest. When I click that, I have videos that are 7 years old. It gives me my oldest videos. Oh man, I got oldest videos from 7 years ago. A lot of them with the ICOM. Review of all, oh man, the reviews of older radios. Man, this is nice because it actually shows me that, for example, my DJN D1103 receiver is 7 years old. The DJN D1106 is 7 years old. Well, I've been having these radios for a long time. So here it works, and it should work for you too, basically. Should work for you too. Because here I see my oldest videos right now. Nick Amendo, nice to have you here from Romania. Jeffrey Kropp, nice to have you on board from snowy New Hampshire. We had a little bit of snow last night. My SDR videos are OBS Studio, WF7i. But I need to set it up for the streaming part of things, because I am already using OBS Studio for SDR or screen recording. Tomas Gonzalez, nice to have you here from the Canary Islands. Pedro, nice to have you here from Portugal. Felipe, nice to have you on board from Spain, EA7THI 73. Jim and Robert Milligan, Hawaii Weather, Navtex 12785 upper sideband. Cool. Northern Dawn, nice to have you here. Denis Pronovo, nice to have you on board. Did you have the chance to listen to the Voice of Korea from Pyongyang? I haven't heard it in a long time. I heard it a little, maybe 2 weeks ago. I tried one of their frequencies. That was a possibility. It was very weak. I have the impression they're not using the same power levels they were using in the past. Because if you look at my older videos, you'll see that Voice of Korea, I have so many videos that I've heard them real well. But recently they haven't. I should chase down their frequencies and check them out. Maybe I'll have, I'll chase down their different frequencies and times, see if I can hear something better. WF7 Homebrew just started using OBS. Really great to share schematics. WSJT, or lots of other stuff from desktop and Windows 10. Yeah. And don't forget, guys, there's a thing in Windows 10 called the game bar. It actually does screen recording also for anybody that because OBS, you need to play with it because it's not the easiest software in the world to set up. But if you have a recent version of Windows 10 and you have a powerful enough laptop, the game bar in Windows 10 actually does screen recording. You can record whatever you're doing. And it actually works well. I tried it the other day because I tried it in the past, but it does the job that it's meant to be. But OBS Studio opens up another world because it has capabilities of screen recording, of screen sharing, of streaming on YouTube, on Twitch, and so on. It does a lot of stuff. Catalan says, I did connect the Ferrite T antenna from Texan to RSP1A, and I put the AN200 close to it. I think it works better than connecting the AN200 directly to RSP1A through the audio cable. Connect the Ferrite T antenna from Texan to RSP1A. Okay, yeah. Yeah, because okay. Yeah, it's possible. It is totally possible that it works better. That's something I didn't even think of doing. Yeah, probably works better like that because maybe I wouldn't be surprised the AN200 directly to the RSP1A might get some noise from the RSP1A. Maybe that's why it works better. An interesting experiment, that. Glenn Zekman, nice to have you here from Tennessee. WOHB 1390. Nice to have you here, Rick. Driven Robert Milligan, V13 number station had some technical issues last night. Oh, really? I've never heard the V13 one. WF79. So you're using the phone app. Let me check it out with the phone app here. I'm going to check it out. I am going to check it out. So if I go to the phone app on YouTube, so my channel, and then I go to videos, and I go on the upper right corner. Okay. So you're scrolling down. Basically what you're doing, you're scrolling down. Is that what you're telling me? And at some point it stops. So what you could do, let me check it out here. Interesting. Settings. That is interesting. That's a good question. On the phone app, that's a good question. Because I don't see the same options. That option that is on the desktop is not available. Not available. So there's no option to go to the oldest videos in here. Let me try something here. 20114. What does this do? Yeah. So here, search YouTube. Yeah, that's a good question. How do you go back in time here? That's I don't know. I don't find any options. Now I get what you're saying. It works on a PC easily because you have the option to go back in time and watch the oldest videos. REFDXer 13680 NHK Radio Japan from Yamata, Japan, Japanese S9 in Southeast Colorado. Wow. That's cool. Let me check it out here. 13680. Anything showing up? 13680. I got to try that. Am I hearing Radio Japan Direct? Unfortunately, there's nothing here at all on that frequency. Mike Thornton, nice to have you on board, my friend. Mike Thornton in WC0L in Derby, Kansas. Jasmine, the CSV user browser with SDR. No, yeah, it is. I did. I had imported the EIBI schedules, and it tells you, yeah. Pedro, if you want to have a free sample copy of the CIDX Messenger, you have to go through CIDXclub@yahoo.com. That's where things happen. Caveman 2782. Nice to have you here from Southern California. Just got a PL 880. Shortwave, been good here. Cool. Tom DXer. Rearranging part of my shack. I remembered you were going to do a complete shack redo in May. Still planning to do it? It all depends on what's happening, because that is really a complex situation now. So if things start getting back to normal, yes, absolutely. If things are still complicated and might be pushed into the summer instead. So I'll keep you guys posted on all of that. Nick Amendo just tested the game bar. Thanks for the tip. Yeah, well, nobody knows that these things exist in Windows 10, but they do. Mad Radio DX, North Korea's frequencies for Europe are non 425, 1370. They are domestic service frequencies, which are the ones commonly received outside of the country. Yeah, and because they have our broadcast, they have their Voice of Korea broadcast towards North America, but they've been difficult. J. Watterson 69, notice that too with videos. Seems like channels with upwards of over 1,000 videos will only allow you to scroll through a few hundred. Huh. Okay. Wow. That's a bummer. Because it means that a lot of the old stuff isn't going to show up unless you search for a specific thing. Huh. Kimberly, K6YYL, sewing some masks right now. Nice to have you on board. Jasmine, I have the signal mentioned 12785. Very good. Is this WeatherFax? I don't, because there's some WeatherFax there, but there's also some Navtex, and you need to use Navtex option. If it sounds more like a radio teletype, I don't know if you know what it sounds like, a radio teletype. Because I don't, let me check the schedule here. 1278. So 1278. Okay, whoops. Is, yeah, 1278. So, okay, you got 127, because if you have 12786, which means you would tune 12785, you're listening to, and they are broadcasting apparently right now, Point Reyes, California, and that's WeatherFax. Where 12789 is mixed in with also Navtex. So you might be listening actually to, because you're low in frequency, to some weather facts. Well, you have 7i Homebrew. Try using the gaming Windows 10 screen recording, but it would not work for me on all application. It would cut out all the times. Can't remember all the details now. Okay. I noticed one thing though. The screen recording of the game bar in Windows 10 actually requires more power than OBS Studio does. And so to work well, it requires a minimum of power on the computer. Esteban, when joining to the stream, I was listening to Radio Exterior España. Living in Spain, one could think that I am not doing DX. However, from Madrid to Canary Islands, there are 1,800 kilometers. Yeah, it is still a good distance. WF7i Homebrew. Yep, I just checked and I can see all your vids using the desktop web access for YouTube. The app for the iPhone stops after a couple of years. Okay, so you'll have to do it in that way in order to see it. So that's a way to do it on the mobile, is to use a browser and go to the YouTube channel from the browser. And there you'll be able to watch the videos from the old 7 years ago. Wow. My radio 7 years ago was, I think, on the on my dryer in the kitchen. Oh, man. And you'll eventually stumble upon my first ever live. That was something. And I mean, 7 years, guys. I'm thinking about it. 7 years of this channel being here. And it's like probably almost 8 years. And what, for at least of those 7 years, when was that first live show I did? It was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It's crazy. Using, what was I using? My cheap laptop, the cheap Toshiba laptop camera that was a piece of crap. Oh, really? So you're better off watching with the, you know. Huh. RDX or PCs are Windows 7 due to Windows 10, inadvertently transmitting into RX antennas while monitoring Whisper. Windows 10 will crash with ELAT SDR software sometimes. That's weird. I never get any crashes. Never. My window, I got all my PCs are on Windows 10 and never crashes. So I don't know if it's the SDR software that has a bug in it or something. But each PC is different, and it's so complex, all the different interactions of all the hardware within these computers. Joe Sumbra, US 11740, weak but listenable here. 11740. What's on 11740? I've got nothing. We've got Cuba on 1160. Matt says, currently transmitting a weather satellite image. Cool. Hi, Brawler. If you have view channel and then videos, I have found the option to sort the videos that way you want. Yeah, I see it from it's weird. So it stops at 6 years ago. Huh, interesting. Kathleen, is half wave better than a quarter wave for reception? That's a good question. Technically, I would guess that if you are closer to what is the actual resonant frequency, it probably is better. But I'm not sure if a quarter wave or half wave would make that much of a difference. Anybody have more knowledge on that than I do? Liam, best frequencies from Canada Coast Guard, night and day. If you're talking about, do you mean weather stations or Coast Guard in general? Because all of that is pretty much in the maritime bands. But the problem with maritime frequencies is that they're not used a lot. They're not used a lot. Understand the times, also receiving 12785 upper sideband week on the 7600. Yeah, Jasmine. Well, everybody in the West Coast gets them a lot better than the East Coast. East Coast is where it's difficult to get the Asian stations directly. Jasmine, at some point it's going to happen. That's for sure. It just need. We're going to start by, at this time, what's interesting is to get a normal life back, and then after that, it's going to be interesting. What's happening makes me realize quite a few things, including I need to travel more. William Moser, nice to have you here. Johnny DXer, 7490, old time music, WBCQ. Matt uses FLDG set to 1500 hertz, so 12784.5. So yeah, I often use 1900 hertz, but yep. Ray Kelly, Pirate on 6880. Let's check it out. 6880. And do I hear anything on 6880? Upper sideband. Yep. It's not very strong, though. I'm not even sure I hear something. Is it still on? WF79 Ombru wanted to see your first live stream, though it might be educational for me in case I ever do one in a year or 2 or 3 or well, I hope that all of you out there that have YouTube channels for radio do try it out and do some kind of live, find your way of doing a live show. Hamrat 88, Tom Stiles in Florida does his own thing, and find your way of doing it. I'm a big mouth, so I can just jot down a few ideas of what I want to talk and talk for hours. Plus, the chat room helps a lot because it feeds you stuff, it feeds you information, it feeds you things that you want to talk about. And I think everybody should try it. The first one is always the nerve-wracking one, because you're going to be live and people are going to watch, and it's something that might not be for everybody, that's for sure, but it's a fun thing to do, and it's a fun way of adding to the hobby, doing some live stuff, and regular live shows, or and they don't have to be regular. Also, it could be a when I started, so Man Radio DXer says our first live show is in 2014. When I started, I often did something that I don't do anymore, that somebody a couple of weeks ago mentioned I should do again. Sometimes I would just go live and not really talk much, simply tune the bands. And instead of showing my face, I would show the radio, and I would go around tuning the frequency ranges, and sometimes would comment on whatever, or comment on something that I would somebody would talk about. But that's why OBS Studio would be interesting, because I would be able to feed that image through here, and so you guys could see where I'm tuned to, and I would be able to comment And that is something that I would like to do again, like, unannounced. Here we go. I'm listening to the radio tonight, and let's do it. But you got to be careful. Somebody asked me once, they said, well, you post on the Facebook group a lot of the stuff you listen to. Why don't you just turn on the camera and stream? And yeah, but sometimes you don't want to go live, and sometimes you don't want to be on the camera. It happens, it does happen. You don't want to be on the camera. Or sometimes it happens. You don't want to be live and have to interact. The Facebook group is fun for that, is I can post what I'm listening to. We can interact through little messages there, but I don't necessarily want to be live all the time, I know some of you would like to have, Jill 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but that's not really, there are times you want to be in your little bubble, you sometimes want to be alone in your little world while you're doing shortwave listening. So you don't always want to have your face on the camera. That's if you want to have your face on the camera, because a lot of people don't like that, Somebody the other day, was so funny, because somebody the other day says, I'm starting my own channel, and I have a question. And I said, what? He said, the question I have is, how do you deal with listening to your own voice? And I remember the first times I did videos, it's like when you record yourself talking and you listen to yourself after, and it's like, oh God, I sound like that? Really? Because what you hear in your own head and what you hear recorded, there's a difference. And the simple answer to how do you get used to, or what do you do to make sure that you can listen to your voice, is to simply listen to it all the time. I have no more problem with that now, because I listen to it all the time. I am now used to listening to my own voice and the recorded voice. For me now, it's totally normal. Both voices are normal to me. It's the fact that when it's not, you don't do it, or you never do it, that when you listen to yourself, you're like, oh God, I listen. This is how I sound. I remember somebody doing a recording once, and he looks at me and says, I sound like that. I said, well, how do you think I sound? But of course, everybody else will tell you, well, you sound just okay. Yeah, I sound okay to you. I don't sound okay to me. It's getting used to it. But I think everybody that has a channel of any kind, it doesn't have to be radio, but a channel of any kind, you guys should go on live and talk. And it's not everybody that can blabber for hours like I do. So make yourself a little script, or make yourself general ideas of what you want to talk about. At first, when you do these stuff, you stress out a little bit, so it's not as easy. But as you get relaxed, you guys can see I'm totally stressed out right now. Oh man. Lee Burkett we'll try shortwave listening for maybe an hour tomorrow outdoors. The whole of UK is locked down, and there are rules which affect social distancing. Yeah. Here we can go to the park. So if it would be nice enough, I would like to go to the park with a radio. As long as, anyways, nobody will want to approach me at all. Nobody will want to approach me at all, because, you're listening to radio. Oh, man. JD Williamson, you can watch the old video from 7 years on the iPhone. Okay. Crazy. I will not use Zoom, WF7i, because Zoom is a privacy and a security nightmare. The only way I would do it would be through Skype or some other means, but I will not touch and go with Zoom. It's too much of a privacy and a security nightmare. Actually, no one should use Zoom. It's crazy what's happening with Zoom. Lee Burkett, because of the lockdown, his Texan has become his best friend. That's all right. Trucker Daddy, hey, John in Quebec, nice to have you here from Sherbrooke, my friend. Nice to have you on board. Stephen Smith, yeah, that's the way that it works. And actually, it is announced. When you upgrade Windows 10, it tells you. You have, except when you're past that 18-month cycle, you gotta. But they're not shoving it in your face anymore. But that's, it's because the big Windows 10 upgrades are Windows reinstalls. So they want you to reinstall the drivers. It does happen, unfortunately. Jasmine says, can definitely see a use for these weather fax transmissions when the internet is down. Yeah, absolutely. Ranking Tech. Let's have you here. $6880 S9, Ray Kelly. 6880, good in Ohio. Wow. I'm the only one not getting 6880. Harry Noggin, nice to have you here from Sweden. You still using the R30? Oh, yeah, I've used it this week to listen to the Provincial Police. Mad Reader DXer, my first live show, 27th of March, 2014. Oh, God. Oh, God. RJ Dakota, nice to have you here. Can you hear 6880? Jasmine, nothing on 6880. We have some Homebrew in general with antennas, bigger is better. Antenna theory calls it capture area. That's why you see arrays of antenna coupled together. So cool. Radio 870, nice to have you here. Does FM DXing on his YouTube channel. Send me that channel on official Shortwave Radio at gmail.com. I'll review it and post it on my VHF YouTube channel. Kay Davis inherited a JRC NRD 535. Wow. You will respark shortwave with that for sure. PD5 DRE. Take care. Good night, my friend. RJ Dakota 6880 on the XH Data D808. WF7I. Yep, picture in picture. You could do a lot of stuff actually. And I will be buying a console for the audio inputs and stuff also. Jasmine says OBS Studio allows you to have a third screen like Paul's the cat's camera. Understand the times. 6880 is weak. Radioactive. Sometimes Jill doesn't want to be live with no pants. Oh man. RFDXer, I can hear something on 6880 here into Southeast Colorado. There's some local power line noise. Huh. Afroman 336 says, what you're saying, you're not getting enough alone time now? WF7 I agree. It would be fun if many of you would do live streams. I think they all are entertaining to watch. And we all have our take on it, the way we do it, the way we want to talk about something specific. Radio is what brings us together. But everybody has a specifics for something that they cherish in the radio spectrum. There are things you like more than others. Some are international broadcast listeners. Some are utility listeners. And even in that spectrum, some are listeners of very specific things in that spectrum. You could be an international broadcast listener, but want to hear stations from Asia only, or some of you are just DXers. You want to hear the weak stuff that comes from the other way, halfway around the world. and are not interested in listening to the big gun Radio Romania, and even for amateur radio, there's different stuff. Some are digital only, some are voice only. I was hearing a ham the other day. There were two or three hams talking. It was an interesting conversation. And one of them was saying that he wants to, he was fed up with digital modes because there aren't enough people talking on upper sideband voice. And basically, what happens is that, so he was kind of bashing the digital mode, saying that, everybody's going there. There's one thing that people don't understand. There's a lot of people that don't want to talk. They don't want to talk. They don't want to use their voice. A lot of people are shy to actually voice a communication, but they're not if you just do a little something digital. So, there's all kinds of people, honestly, for sure. That is something we gotta understand, and everybody has his own take on the hobby, his own way of doing it, his own listening experience. And I would like to see somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience kind of be the newbie channel. He's going live, not totally understanding what he's doing, but still doing a live show or a live feed, trying to figure out and having all the people around, some that would help. But I think, we also got to remember when we started our hobby, one of the things that probably was hard for some is, I know nothing, and I'm going to a convention or some kind of, festival. They all look like experts that know everything. So sometimes it makes it difficult for that newbie to get there and interact or, go forward, because they have the impression that, well, they know everything, I know nothing, and I'm going to look dumb if I open my mouth, and which is often not the case at all. But I don't know. There's all sorts of things that can be done out there. Chasmin says, this sounds like the makings of a network of channels, the official shortwave network. Yes, absolutely. Why not? Catalin, how to decode Olivia? You need FLDG, which is a very nice software that decodes most of the modes that are interesting. So FLDG, and it's available for Linux, for Mac, for Windows. It's really good. Jevin Robert Milligan, I would do live streams, but it's disabled on my channel. Yeah, that's the other thing. To do live streams, you need to have a certain, I don't know what are the minimum today. I think there's a minimum in the amount of subscribers, and because you reach that level at some point. I don't remember what. I should check your rules now, because they might have changed. But yes, if you start a YouTube channel from scratch, it's not enabled to do live shows. Live shows come after a certain level. When that happens, then you can do live shows. One of the things you also need to do is to make sure that your channel is kind of verified. So you need to have your channel set up with your phone number for text messaging, so you can have verification. And there's a few things that also needs to be done to have it working. Dan V is Radio 48 on 6860. Laird Nigel Lawrence, nice to have you on board. G0MEJ, nice to have you on board, my friend. Mr. Blackpool, Pirate Station at 4700. Yeah, that's the European one. Mystery 21, usually. It's too early here, but there's a weak signal in the evening from that one on 4700. Caveman says, what's the scanner by your S450? I get all warm and fuzzy for Radio Shack when I see it. Good days when I could do my local. I go out to my local Radio Shack for just about anything radio. Yeah, that's the Pro 92. It's a trunk tracking scanner. And it looks like it has batteries in it. I don't know if it's going to power up. But this is Pro 92. Oops, Pro 92 scanner. And this is, I purchased this from the US because this was not sold in Canada. And this is a trunk scanner. That's why I purchased it back then. It actually follows trunk system. So I had a lot of fun with this, but it cost an amount of money that no one should have paid for. But anyways, I purchased it and I was happy to get it. And I wanted to have a trunk tracker, but none were available in Canada back then. And that was brand new. And I think I purchased it from Universal Radio. Well, Jasmine has one question. How big would an HF dish antenna be? I don't know. That's a good question. So there, Nigel Lawrence, let's have you here. William Moser, I have noticed that non-directional beacons have slowed down a lot. Should not have slowed down or anything. It must be more of the Liam, what's the best USB radio? There's, the term best radio is very general. You cannot say this is the best radio, because the best radio is a mix of two things for everybody. It's performance and it's the radio itself, the way we like the radio for whatever reason. So for USB, any minimally good radio is a good radio for upper sideband. Then there's, of course, the radios that have more bells and whistles. What mostly is to check out for single sideband listening is the AGC, the automatic gain control, because that's the killer of single sideband. When the AGC is not set right, it is tiresome to listen to single sideband signals. So it's more like that, because there's, honestly, I am not one of those that says, well, that's the best radio you can have. It doesn't work like that. It's not totally like that. And the best radio you have, anyways, is the one you're using. Kevin Wood, 6880 in Nova Scotia, some hip hop. Hunter Carver, Shortwave Radio has become very interesting lately. Caveman, I'm into chasing the weak stuff and the rare stuff. Anybody else spend some nights up chasing non-directional beacons on longwave? I would do it, honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that it is very noisy here. Because I remember when I was in a lower noise environment, I like to chase NDBs, non-directional beacons, and see how far I can receive them. Halmesam, let's have you here. Jasmine says, I've heard many conversations. Maybe it's a good thing there's not more on the USB. Well, maybe there should be more on USB so that there are more chances that you get an interesting conversation. Because I do agree 80% of ham, if not 90% of ham conversations are really boring. I mean, I go through 80 meters at night, and you end up like, yeah, so there was nothing interesting there. And you end up just going through the band because you're trying to find some DX. It's, when a guy calling DX stations is the preferred thing you want to listen to in an AM band, well, maybe there are not a lot of good conversations around. Catalan, how to adjust the RF gain in SDR Uno? What is the golden rule? There's no official golden rule, but look at your signal to noise ratio that's in the display. Because you'll notice, and this really, really depends on where you live, how strong the signals around you are, what antenna you're using. But there's a sweet spot where you see that listening to a station. So you tune something, look at the signal to noise ratio, and find that sweet spot where the signal to noise ratio is the highest, and leave it there. It generally will be good like that for pretty much everything else. So there's a spot. You don't push the RF gain to the max. Any SDR will not work well, and all sorts of spurious, weird signals will show up on the display if you push the RF gain up to the max. Mine is right now maybe 80%. And I pretty much never touch it. I do sometimes play with it to see if I can, depending on the frequency range I'm tuned to. But, my rule would say that if you don't know exactly what to do and how to set it, I always say put it at 75% and leave it there. For most environments, it's going to be okay. Just don't push it to the top. WSOI Homebrew, geek culture is like that a lot. I've found get bounce on for even slight inaccuracies in your tech knowledge. Makes a newer person, especially, not want to participate. It happens all the time. I don't know how many times, even on my channel, I don't know how many times, people are like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. And you're like, yeah, if, I'm not 100% knowledge of everything. I will say things that you guys will correct me on. And I'm okay with that. It's, I'm here to give you what is the best knowledge possible within what I know. I haven't talked much about the questions about antennas. I'm not very, antennas is the part where I'm not that knowledgeable, and some of you are like building 50 different antennas and like, yeah, well, look at that. This thing has a gain of 12 dB and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, good for you. Windows Defender. Apparently, I got no virus on my machine. So, what the problem is that there are some people, there's all sorts of people. And there are some people that belittle others rather than helping them. And we had an example here that's now not even on YouTube anymore, which is a guy from Finland that basically would belittle other YouTubers talking about radio with his apparent know-how of technology that is apparently better than everybody else. And the thing with that is, well, no, that's not the way you actually get there. You don't belittle someone with some post. For example, look at my shortwave channel. I correct people sometimes that post something they're listening to that is not right. Or maybe we'll post something and I would say, well, it's not exactly that, it's that. But there's a way to say it. There's a way to not hurt somebody's feelings. Because, they took the time to share that information. Already, it's a big thing. And then you go to them and you're like, you're wrong. Well, there's a way to do that. There's a way to say you're wrong. that doesn't hurt your feelings, doesn't make you look stupid. It simply is a nice way of just, oh, okay, well, here, this is not what you think, and here is why. And the way I do it, and I'll always add, the way I do it is this and that, so that I don't fall into that, not posting something that's wrong with that. And I will always add, and I think that's probably what makes it sweeter. I will always post, I understand that sometimes it's kind of complicated to understand, or to, it's not always easy to have the knowledge behind whatever to actually make it, that what finally what you're posting is right. And we all get it wrong at some point. I have posted stuff that I got wrong. I have said things that were wrong. I have even told someone, well, no, that's not that, and finally came back and it's like, well, you're right. My mistake, Vince 7170, really clear hams. Never got something that clear. Now 40 meters usually, especially at this time, is usually pretty good. There's a few signals on 40. So yeah, it's a question of listening in. There's a few hams. There's some conversations going on 40 meters. It's a question of taking the time to tune around. Liam, what is the thing about? I don't get it. The Radio Shack model is a Pro 92. It's a Radio Shack Pro 92. $40-meter dish. WF7i Homebrew need many multiples of wavelengths diameter for a dish, but you can put together an array of verticals or Yagis and bring in a tremendously more signal. Almy Sam 6880 USB up again. Man Radio DXer. The reason why DXers like us have more than one radio is because there is no perfect radio. Even the most expensive receivers have their flaws. That's true. That's true. Catalan, how would the AGC be set for USB? Well, the thing is, on most portables, you have no choice. Pretty much every portable receiver, the AGC, the automatic gain control, is automatically set for you. So that's why some portables are better than others, because the AGC was set at a sweeter spot for single sideband listening. On other types of receivers, like for example here on my SDR, now you have choices. You have choices of fast, medium, or slow. So that depends on what you're listening to. On upper sideband, I like to use the slow USB, because the slow AGC, because one of the biggest problems I find that makes it harsh is when the AGC is too fast. What happens is that in between the words, the radio has time to go down to the static. So you have words, static, word, static, word, static. Makes it hard on the ears. When you use a slow AGC, it's word, but the time the radio takes to get back to static is slower. So between words in a conversation, it doesn't have time to go back to the static. So you'll hear a nice conversation usually. So when you can set it, my preferred, and maybe some other people have a different setting, but my preferred AGC setting for single sideband, so it's not just upper sideband, it's lower sideband, it's single sideband in general, I always set it at slow. Now, the slow setting means that getting back to the level of static takes longer. It can be sometimes that you don't want to set it to that setting because you're missing out. If something, a conversation is going really, really fast in an exchange with a weak station, well, the time the AJC gets back to normal or to the noise floor, well, you might miss out on a very weak station. So sometimes you want to change it so that it's faster. But in general, for regular conversations or utility stations, my AJC is set to slow to minimize that harshness of going back to the noise floor on the radio. Take care, Lee Burkett. It's nice to have you here. Ren, what about those Baofangs? Yeah, a lot of people like them. It depends what you do. William Moser, can it be possible the non-directional beacons slowed down? Because, look, it's not impossible that some NDBs might be off the air for some reason, but, there shouldn't be. I think it's more of a propagation thing. Because one of the things also, in the last week, we had some geomagnetic unrest, and that will affect sometimes the long wave, medium wave bands. RJ Dakota 6880 fading out 11780 from Brazil S9. Let's check it out. 11780. That was really strong. Brazil at S9 plus 20 on my radio. Really, really nice signal. WM6V, Flo Garneau, nice to have you here. Late check-in, received my ICOM IC7300 and still waiting for the Cha F-Loop 2.0 antenna. So still using my MLA 30 Plus for receiving. Fabulous radio and antenna. Cool. Mr. Simba, why does the PL880 have so many hidden functions? It's not just a question of the PL880. There are often radios that have hidden functionalities. Sometimes it's because simply because some of those functionalities they deemed uninteresting for some people, or they deem maybe too complicated to use, or they build them in, but they were meant at the end when they got to do the production version of the radio, they just didn't think it was important to turn them on, or they just like let's keep those functionalities off, or maybe it could be the manual would be too big because there's too many things to know. But yeah, there are a lot of radios that have these little gizmos and these little hidden features that you can turn on with the menus and stuff. A lot of scanner radios have that. When you turn it on and hold this button, that button turns on or shows something or shows the firmware version, or it often happens. Some of them were meant also to be used internally only for testing purpose at the manufacturing plant, stuff like that. Mr. Lucky Train, nice to have you on board from Southeast Pennsylvania. Joining late today as I had curbside grocery order to pick up. Regardless of where we are, we have to eat. Yep, absolutely. Now Hunt is on for cat food and litter. So even Chewy is out of stock. Undercover loves the MLA 30 loop. I love mine so much. I've been switching between antenna C and B because I have one MLA 30 that is horizontal right now in an experiment. The other one is vertical. It's funny because the horizontal one above 10 megahertz is so much better, and the vertical one is better below 10 megahertz, which is kind of funny. 6880. Let's try it again. It's a little stronger, but it's very, very weak. Yeah, 6880. It's not impossible that it's virus 19. It's been on almost every night. WF7I Ombro says, I was using a low quality Bluetooth headset. Guy immediately pounced and criticized and posted, your audio is bad. You know, there's always going to be somebody somewhere. And that, if I have to add something to anybody out there that's having his YouTube channel that does live show, don't look at all of that. There are some people out there that are just there to try to, pin you down and give you some hard time with comments. There's always somebody somewhere. The other day I made a video, an example. I made a video in which I wanted to explain something that I can't, there's nothing I have to explain on the computer itself. It's just I want to talk about a subject. So I put a background image that has a relation to that subject and talked. And the first comment that came up was, well, what are you doing YouTube videos if you're just using static images? What a dumb way to do videos. It's like, yeah, what a dumb comment. It's like, you feel like telling the guy when that happens, you feel like, well, thank you so much for showing everybody what a dumb YouTube viewer it looks like with that comment. There will always be somebody somewhere that will criticize whatever you are saying, whatever you are doing. And some people are just doing that because they are just jealous that you are capable of doing that and having some popularity doing it. And they will just find a way to try to make you go like bring you down, basically. Some people are actually online just want to bring you down. Usually they're probably losers in their basements that have no life, no friends, and are stupid. And it's the only thing they know it's okay because they feel strong because they are hiding behind a screen. But meet those people in face. I tell you, they're not going to tell you anything. That's something you gotta live with, honestly. And don't take it as a downer. If you do, YouTube, you got to be strong. Don't take it as a downer. It's I've over the years I've had several YouTubers come to me and say, can I ask you how you cope with the fact that people are belittling you and telling you just how crappy what you just did is, and brings you down and brings you. I mean, these people are just doing that because that's the way that they are affecting you. And the best thing you could do is ignore it. Don't answer back. And you know what? If you don't answer back, if you just ignore them, it actually makes them even now they get mad because it's like, well, you're ignoring. I am ignoring every dumb comment. What I do is I flag the user to never be able to post again. And what's interesting is that they still continue posting. They just don't know that their comments will never show up anymore because they're blocked. And you'll have that, those idiots that have like 30 accounts. It's the same guy, but with 30 different accounts, and take the time to go to all these accounts to do some bad commenting or trolling or whatever, which is very common. You've got to go get over that. And, when somebody says, well, you're dumb. Oh, wow. That's a really good explanation of why I'm dumb, or you don't know nothing, or that radio's bad. How about giving me a full paragraph of that radio is no good because of that and this feature and that thing that doesn't work and that radio's bad. Yeah. One guy once was like every portable video I would put up was like, portable receivers are bad. They're crappy. Get yourself a good ICOM. What kind of comment is that? Come on. you know. And some people are actually in their own bubble also. There are some people out there, and I see that with the MLA30. Yeah, come on. A $40 antenna is not going to match my Wellbrook. Yes, it will. Stop. You know what I say? Like I said it once with the ICOM. Stop sugarcoating reality. There is a $40 antenna out there that kicks the butt of Wellbrooks and W6LVP loops. Yeah, it is 10 times less expensive. And it comes from China. And that's it. Live with it. You got your Wellbrook. You got your W6LVP. Hey, I would not have spent $600 on my W6LVP. I can tell you that. It would have stayed there. And I would not purchase one if I had known the MLE30 before. But I'm happy because I actually have actual videos showing both in performance, where you see there's not a lot of difference. And where you see that, oh, well, spending $400 for an antenna is useless now. I can spend $40 and have a decent antenna. There's a lot of that going on, and you'll be bashed at your own comments of something. You'll be belittled because you said something, and somebody will, laugh at you for something. And so you got to be strong and go over that. I was hurt I'd say the first year and a half. I was hurt sometimes with some of the comments that came through. Because what you understand is you've got to create yourself a shield. But that shield, it doesn't exist when you post for the first time, because when you post for the first time, you are not ready to have somebody come up to you and say, well, what a crappy video that was. It's not something you're used to. You're not used to somebody coming up to you and saying, well, that's crappy what you did. Because people in life don't do that. They might think it, but they just shut up. On YouTube, they don't shut up. They tell you. And it doesn't mean it's crappy. It doesn't mean anything bad. It's either a troll. It's either an idiot that, how many times you'll see a bad comment? It's like, for somebody that never made any videos on his own channel, you're going to tell me that my video is crappy? Start making videos and we'll talk when we're equal, You got to, shield yourself against that at some point. I am pretty much shielded now because, I get at the level where I am. Oh man, you should see my first 2 hours in the morning with my coffee. It's enough to get depression and feel bad. Not counting the number of people that tell me I should kill myself. So, at some point you're like, yeah. At some point, what you actually get is more of a, I'd like to take that first hour or two and do something else than deleting and blocking stupid idiots online, Liam, Perseus SDR. Well, apparently they're really good. But honestly, I find that they are way too expensive. Almi Sam 6880 ID, that's Radio 48. Mr. Lucky Train, would it be worthwhile connecting the MLA30 and MLA30 Plus oriented at right angles to each other to use them simultaneously on the Texan 880? I don't know. I'm not sure that would really necessarily be the idea. John Bolton, fast setting AJC supposed to be for digital modes according to radio owner's manual. Yeah, it could be. It could be. Vianney Arsenault, salut. Nice to have you here from the eastern part of Quebec. RSPDX is a nice SDR, radioactive, can tell you that. Jasmine, one thing I wonder is why our empty office buildings still lit up at night like everything is normal. Wouldn't this be a good time to conserve some energy? Yeah, sometimes it's because it's all automatic and they just leave it like that. Sometimes it's Sometimes they want to have, sometimes they don't want to be dark because maybe somebody will, thieves or anything could go, RFDX or loop antennas at right angles are a great configuration if you feed them into a phasing unit, then to the radio. You can achieve different receive patterns. Oh, that's interesting. Calvin, nice to have you here. Put up a Sigma long wire and fed antenna 91 Unan today with the ICOM IS706 MK2. Cool. Nothing like having fun with radio and antennas. Tony Turtle, nice to have you here, my friend. What else do we have? Kathleen, currently I have set up an AN48X with the ferret close to the Sony Longwave only radio. RSP1A with the T-ferret from Texan also close by. Would I be able to light an LED with another ferrite? No, there's not enough energy in there to do that. Yeah, man, ready the Xer. I've got the MLA30 horizontal. It came to mind because I had to redo some stuff on the balcony. And I looked at the balcony and I thought, what if I put it horizontal? It's still a loop. So I decided, let's try it. And I'm surprised because actually it's getting better signals. So the one that is horizontal right now is the MLA 30 Plus. And the one that's vertical is my original MLA 30. And so it's kind of interesting. It really seems to be better on higher frequencies. Now, one of the things I thought was, is it because it's further away from the house a little bit? But then again, it's not just a signal thing. It's the signals from the stations I'm listening to are much stronger above. It really starts to show about above around 11, 12 megahertz. So now I switch, depending on where I listen to, I switch from one to the other. Vianney Arsenault, vodka and orange juice today. A screwdriver, like they say. Caveman, is the AN48X any good at long wave? It is. I would say the AN48X is interesting at long wave, medium wave. It is interesting at long wave, medium wave. It does make signals stronger on a portable radio or a radio in general. But unfortunately, the shortwave portion of it is. WF79 Old Bruce says 6880 USB coming very loud into Virginia. It's 9+10. What else do we have? Let me try to go down. Yeah, Jasmine. Well, you have, the problem with that rule, Jasmine, is when you leave the comments on, you have to read them, because you have to, flag them, or, everything that is inappropriate. There's a bunch of trollers right now that are trying to bring people to their kind of sex or porn sites, and they do it in a very clever way. Well, you got to be there to remove that so that nobody gets offended, because you can't just leave the comments go. If you're not going to read the comments or take care of them, you have to block them, because what shows up in there is crazy. J.D. Williamson, 50% of the listeners are real, 25% are ours, 15% aren't the brightest lights, 10% are really just dumb. Yeah. RFDXer got kicked off a DX net once for asking a simple question because the net control station was in a bad mood. Wow. Okay. That is going to help the hobby. Take care, my friend Laird Nigel Lawrence. Even Robert Milligan, not all portable receivers are crap. No, absolutely not. You know? Don't worry, guys. My shield is really getting thick. It's really getting thick. I'm more annoyed at taking the time to, ban and remove people than anything else now. So, Jasmine says people who bought expensive antennas and radios can't deal with the cheap antennas and SDRs being better. Yeah. That's some of it, Jevin Robert Milligan, Ethon Satellite's pretty good. The WDR003. No, I'm not. I really need to get my license, but I'm not. Jasmine said, I had some guy on HF Underground give me negative karma because I used an SDR, and he wrote, real radios have knobs. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times I got people saying, well, you're using that computer thing. That's not a real radio. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Stop being an idiot. You can say I don't like what SDRs are all about, and I totally understand. Some people, people that work with a computer all day long, they don't like using computers sometimes after they finish work. I totally understand they were going to tell me, I don't want to look at a computer screen at night. Some people just don't like using a computer to listen. They want to have that big radio with knobs. Absolutely, it's fine. But don't insult people that are into SDRs and love them. Like us that love our SDRs are not. Let's just not, bash on anybody that uses a good old radio with knobs. It's our thing. We each have something we prefer or not, Catalan, I still use the earthing from the wall socket as grounding. That's not the best of things. You should not be grounding from the wall socket because, there could be some bad things happening with that. Ecadarius, your videos are awesome, Joe. Thank you so much, my friend. Dan Hubert, good evening from New Brunswick. Nice to have you here. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We got to forget about that, and you got to do what you do and talk, and I, like I say, my goal, the major goal here is to be fair. And, we have to also understand one thing. It's that one of the aspects of our hobby is that a lot of people are stuck on the price or the amount of money they're going to spend in the hobby. I got that big gun 2000 ICOM doing nothing here in the back. And not everybody's going to have the money to buy something like that. We have to be fair. Unfortunately, we don't have all the same capacity of paying for something. It's the way life works, and depending where the country you are and all of that. One of the aspects of my channel here was always to try to get the best setup possible for someone at the lowest price point possible without being crappy. Because there is a price point where you go below this, now you're in a crappy zone, and it's not worth it. We gotta understand that some people got out of the hobby because of a crappy radio. Maybe would have stayed in the hobby if the radio was good. So you got to be careful, with that. Then, wire. My first idea is always try a wire outside. Cost nothing. Most of us have wire hanging somewhere. It's like, oh, look at that. I got my old telephone wire here, or I got my old, speaker wires I don't use. So it's the cheap antenna, but it's not the worst antenna. In a very quiet environment, 50 feet of wires outdoor is going to really, really be an interesting antenna. But, if you try something else because of noise or anything, what can you try? What can you have that isn't too expensive to bring people in the hobby? Not a lot of people are going to spend $300 to $400 for a W6 LVP loop. And people that have a portable are not, oh, I bought this $100 radio. Of course, I'm going to put a $400 antenna on it. Isn't the idea behind all of this? So you got to find a solution. You got to find, how can I, and the MLA30 answers that. Oh, you got that $100 radio? Well, there's a $44 antenna. Together, they're going to be amazing. And that will be more in the affordable zone of most people. And you'll keep some of those people listening in. And everybody has a different take on what money is. I was seeing a post on my Shortwave channel. Somebody said, well, I have a hard time spending that big amount of money on an MLA30 knowing that it's not very good on long wave. You feel like saying, come on, dude, $44. We're not talking about a $500 antenna, $44. Of course, it's got to have some limits somewhere of where it's not as good as. So, but that makes you realize even $44 is a lot of money for some people. And before they spend $44, they better be perfect everywhere. There's also the people out there that are just way too, they want everything perfect all the time. Well, I got news for you. Nothing is perfect. Even that $2,000 radio is not perfect. It has some flaws that's going to annoy you. I know my Icom ICRD 500 has a couple of flaws that annoys me. But they aren't annoying enough for me to not like the radio still. EA3IEK. Nice to have you on board, my friend, in Barcelona. Trying to comment on the chat, but seems that wasn't working. Wow. Working. Nice to have you here, my friend. Mickey Dalmage, just mad. Just made. Oh, just mad. The E was off. Just made my first QSL with Quebec VE2 CSI 14213. Booming in Alberta at the moment from Sept-Îles. Wow, cool. That's cool. Pediceo says, is the horizontal MLA30 more directional than the other one? Have you got it on a rotator? Nice to have you here, Patrick 2E0PAJ. It's I don't think it's more directional. It's directional in a pattern that is different. So the pattern is different because it's horizontal. So that directional pattern means that you probably, it's, having on a rotator for when it's vertical is one thing because you'll get the signals all around. Once it's horizontal, I don't necessarily think that will help much, but it's something to try, that's for sure. SL Joseph 74, nice to have you on board. Weak people will always criticize people that take risks. Yeah, that for sure. And we see it all the time in the news and everywhere where people, rant at those people that are at the top of something. Nice to have you here, AJ5QQ. I like that, Kimberly. Bad things hide in dark places. Haha, that's nice. Radioactive, hearing Seoul Radio, South Korean HLW2 CW station. What frequency are you getting at, Radioactive? I was hearing last year. I remember I stumbled upon the maritime CW marker from South Korea. It was, I think, on 12 above at the top of 12 megahertz. RMD Extra says dark places include their grandma's basement. Crittenden Total 4, nice to have you here. Matt says, I think dark downtown buildings would have a psychological effect. That's true. Having it lit kind of gives a sense of life still going normally. Tony Turtle says, I thought making videos was easy. Found out it's a lot of work and I am very bad at it. It's a question of experience. Just do it. When I started, oh man, it was so difficult to get a video out without me fumbling and repeating and like always missing on a point or just like I would restart videos a gazillion times to a point sometimes I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break and I can continue this afternoon because it's really but you get better at it as time goes by. What was most difficult for me on the video side was the fact that English was not my native language. I would understand it well, but speaking the language is a different thing. And I would search for my words all the time. I would block somewhere because I would have to think, how do I say this? Because the words weren't coming. I knew the word, but my brain wasn't wired enough to bring me that word instantly while I was doing something. And that is, if I have to say what is probably the best thing that arrived from, or that I have improved from doing all of this, is my ability of speaking English much more fluently, because before that it was hard to find the words after the time, and that made my first videos a hard work to do because I would stop all the time and have to, okay, why didn't I remember that that's called a couch, and why didn't I remember that that's called a table while I was doing the video? My brain was freezing. Same with making videos in general. You start doing them, and that what's happened at Two Hands on the Radio. Part of the reason he was fed up was the comments of, this is bad, shouldn't do this, that moves too much, that there's always somebody somewhere, And the worst part is that those people are all people that do absolutely nothing. Yeah, it's easy to tell the guy that makes a 3-hour show how to do the show when you don't even have a video or never did something like that. Huh? Come sit in my chair. I want to see you talk for 3 hours. We'll talk about it tomorrow, how easy it is. John Bolton, businesses have automated lights, and there are also special lease requirements in retail areas. So, instance, Times Square businesses are required to leave their buildings lit up. Yeah, that is totally possible. Absolutely. So, David in Barcelona, have I seriously been here for over an hour sending messages to the void? Apparently you did. So, what would be interesting, David, is that after the show ends, all of your 50 messages pop up all one next to each other. Well, at least you make it, and it's nice to have you on board, my friend. I can tell you that. Man. What else? Let's try to catch up with the chat a little bit now. Had a few of those podcast crew drivers. Um, that's I don't know, JD Williamson. Isn't that then horizontally polarized? It not necessarily because it's a loop. It depends on its position, maybe. I don't know. Simplio, nice to have you here. Well, let's try to Rev the extra horizontal loop could be a loop on ground, which is a directional antenna. Well, I think it's still directional. RJ Dakota still receiving 6880. Joe Sombra Nuance, Shortwave Live, and pizza. I want to have some. Take care, WF7I Homebrew. It's nice to have you on board. Oh, man. Jasmine says, I hear hams all the time on HF talk about the lack of young people in the hobby. But then some act like the world is the same as when they became a ham or shortwave listener. Yeah. Simply you'll both enjoys analog and SDRs. Cool. I too. I like, good old analog also. How many sometimes misses is old DX160. Crinton the Tuttle 4. With the amount of energy, time, and help from others, my SDR setups are just as complicated and real as any other radio. In fact, I am waiting for an AirSpy HF Liz Discovery to test against my RSPDX. Cool. Let us know how it goes. Caveman has a couple of SDRs. Love them. Loves his old-fashioned radios with knobs, too. Each have advantages. Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the advantages was on quick moving signals. It's actually easier on the analog radio. So, for example, if I listen to hams on satellites in the VHF range, there's the Doppler shift. So it's actually easier to follow the Doppler shift of their voice transmissions as they change frequencies also with my ICOM in the tuning knob than starting to click and to deal with a lot of that with the SDR. Absolutely, RGA Dakota. Modern radios like those, like the XH did at the 808. It's a chip, radio on a chip with DSP, and like Nikon ICR 7300 has DOMs, but it's a computer. It's an SDR. Bobby Burgess, how many of you like to have an internet radio receiver or already do have one, or you're better off using your own computers to receive internet radio? Honestly, I have a Sangean WFR 20 here that I don't use. I thought I'd use it. I don't use it. If you don't want to fiddle with a computer, there's, most of them, a lot of them have really good audio quality and all of that. But honestly, you can stream all the same content on a computer. If you do use a computer, just have a good, quality audio setup, and it's going to work fine. Jasmine says, I think most older hams need to understand us younger shortwave listeners and hams don't have the same economy they grew up in. Technology has gotten cheaper, so we do it like they did. And, I think also you got to understand that the hobby has changed somewhat. So it's like we're not in the same way of doing things, Cool. Do it, XN80Xer. Setting up an SDR to listen online would be cool. Catlin, still not sure if RSPDX is able to, but maybe you can do some direction finding with the two MLA 30s. Yeah, well, it's on medium wave. It does work. On medium wave, it totally does work. I mean, with medium wave, long wave, The MLA30s are so directional that you can actually pinpoint general direction of where stations are from, where the signals come from. Terry Cook loves the ICOM 7300. Yes, it has knobs, but it's an SDR. It is an SDR with knobs. Ron Hicks, I like listening to the web SDR, but still want a decent shortwave set in case I don't have internet. Still think one of the XH datas would be a nice receiver. Yep, absolutely. Jasmine says, I couldn't even imagine $400 antenna. Jamin Robert Milligan, I discovered a couple of years ago after buying an FM dipole antenna at my local electronics store. It actually works pretty good for shortwave, mostly at night. We try different things, and I tried so many things over time. And it's interesting to see what you get out of the different antennas and stuff. RFDX, occasionally I'll string out the long wire antenna in some nearby field, record the entire spectrum at the top of the hour, then spend a week DXing the recording. Oh, that's cool. That's a great way to do it. Jasmine says, when I started out, there was a guy here in Seattle who had the name Strange Beacons for his SDR. Listening to his SDR and his loop antenna are why I got my own. Cool. Do it, Keegan. Be nice, X80Xer. People could listen to your radios and see what they can receive in your part of the world. Rick Robbins, nice to have you on board. K4YPS. John McClure, you're only 2 hours, 45 minutes late. Well, HF and shortwave and radio, there's a lot of mystery in there, that's for sure. RFDXer says, remote SDR sites are also good if you're a ham. You can hear or decode your own signals. I also like the remote SDRs for signals that you'll never hear where you are. I mean, you can easily tune in to stations you never listened to. We're talking about Voice of Korea. I never hear it here. Well, I can go online and tune an SDR from the West Coast or from another location and listen to it clearly. At least I have that ability to listen to it. David in Barcelona says, as far as the web Kiwi SDR receivers go, I often use them to monitor my own signals. Of course, if you're a ham and you're transmitting, it's really cool because you can have an idea if you're making it to a specific area or target area or country. Ray Kelly, Radio Nacional Amazonas 11780, really strong. WM6V Flow says, got mine this week, still learning about it. RFDX, some of these SDR radios are cheap and perform about as well as a regular radio, and they're more versatile. It's crazy, but with something like the SDR Play RSPDX, I have a hard time telling people to buy a $5,000 radio now because the slightly more performance you'll have is not enough to actually tell me, honestly, the only reason why ICOM still sells ham radio gear transceivers is because nobody was able yet to do a $200 SDR that has 100 watts output and transmit that runs on a computer. Because that, if you started doing that, a transceiver as an SDR, so imagine a SDR Play size device that would be able to do 100 watts out, runs on SDR Uno, you'd start having heavy competition with the big, good, old transceiver market. Denise Sparks wants a new radio. Thundercat 1 just ordered an SDR Play RSP1A. Cannot wait to get it. You're going to have a lot of fun. David, thanks, Joe. Yes, it seems YouTube is kind of picky on me today. Cool. Echidarius, the more knobs a radio has, the better. We want a wall of knobs. Radioactive. You know what? That station in Kodiak, Alaska, I don't know how many times I tried to listen to something coming out of there and never heard anything. I would like to hear that Kodiak, Alaska station. One day, someday, I will be hearing it. Catalan was listening to the same station on the Sony radio and SDR Uno. As I tune the Sony radio to a different frequency, I can see it on the spectrum. Yeah, because the internal oscillators show up on the display. Simplio, speaking of analog radio, let's see that beautiful grinding you have on the other desk, Shell. Oh, that you mean the big old grinding? Well, you know what? How about we do a special show next week? Analog only show. The only radios that I'll be able to use and tune to will be analog receivers. No digital out frequency display. Only thing, I'll be using this just to help me know where and what I'm tuning. But, Jasmine, well, what I'm talking about is a little different, Jasmine. So here's the thing. So on SDR Uno, for example, I am able to use the satellite tracking software and have it follow the Doppler shift. Yes. But what I'm talking is that's good if a satellite is sending an FM signal, for example, and it's a repeater or a Morse code beacon from a satellite. That's good because that Doppler shift will follow it. I have nothing to do. But what I'm talking about is if you ever made contacts on a satellite, a VHF, UHF satellite that has upper sideband ham radio transmissions, voice transmissions, you will note that these do not follow the same rules. They sometimes, so first of all, that there are different frequencies where you can actually tune. So that's the first thing. It's like, oh, I got to go and click on the SDR window. And, unless you're extremely precise, you often click a little out of range. So you got to fine tune it for the voice. And then there's the Doppler shift, but also there's the shift because sometimes, I don't know what happens, but sometimes the transmission will suddenly move 10 kilohertz, 20 hertz, 30 hertz up or down. And you got to quickly move and go and find it. Well, an SDR is crappy at that because you got to click on the display or you got to move on the display or you got to really quickly kind of tune in and out with the keyboard shortcuts or whatever. It doesn't work well here. On a radio like my ICOM with the knob, it's like you just whoop, 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 whoop. You're there. And you can follow it easily. That's what I'm talking about on an analog like my ICOM ICRD 500 being better at that than the SDR software. But if we talk about a FM repeater or a signal that is always spot on and it never moves, it just has that Doppler shift. Yeah, you can set up Arbitron that will control SDR Uno's frequency output to follow the Doppler shift. That works fine. David says, by the way, the PA0RDT mini whip antenna on the 20 receiver has failed. So lost a lot of sensitivity. Yeah, it might take a little while before they actually, Caveman says, yeah, much easier chasing sat Doppler with a knob. I use my SDR for trunk tracking and decoding other digital signals. My portables are used for DXing broadcast ham beacons. If you corner feed a rectangle loop, it becomes more directional in the direction away from the feed point. If you terminate the far end with a 1K resolution, it becomes unidirectional. Simply, wow, RF finding with loops, that'd be quite an array. Yep. Caveman wants an ICOM 705, a SDR with a big fat tuning knob. Terry Cook, small loops are normally bidirectional, but become omnidirectional when mounted horizontally. Huh, interesting. Okay. Huh. Okay. We are learning. We are learning. Yeah, it's sad because that U20 SDR was actually really, really good. What's good about a knob for digital operation? Not much, honestly. Joey D, nice to have you on board from New Jersey. When I tune someone SDR, I still am tuning and listening to an actual radio like I would in my own home. Yeah, absolutely. At the end, where you're tuning is a radio with an antenna that receives signals. It's just that there's a internet stream to bring you the audio for it and the visuals sometimes. But you are tuning an actual real radio, absolutely. And Reader DXer have two high-end desktop receivers, yet I always use my SDR. Also, you can decode digital mode super easy with an SDR. Jasmine, Joel, just put out an idea a Chinese company will make 6 months from now. Take care, understand the times. 73. Keegan, I would listen to FCC Part 15 AM medium wave transmitter signals remotely via SDR and my QTH. Hubert, oui, j'ai terminé ma vodka. Terry Cook, AC RF SDR does transmit and receive, but would require an amplifier to do much with it. Yeah. But one day somebody's going to come up with an SDR that does it all, and that's going to start being a different thing. Joey D, on the web SDR from Washington, what is that N3AB station that plays instrumental music on 1700 kilohertz? Yeah, I think that's a traffic information station. Jacob E. Alice, my show should be transmitted on shortwave. It was a few times. Some pirates would actually feed the audio of my show on shortwave. Ron Hicks, and you all remember the Wall of Voodoo video on MTV? The song would always make me think of late night medium wave DXing. Arters, other crafters, analog all the way. Jasmine hears that Kodiak, Alaska station all the time. Getting 6070 CFRX is a challenge. I get it very weakly here sometimes. VNA, you need a knob on your SDR. Yeah, I know that there's that knob that they sell that can be plugged into your computer to have. But I will say one thing. I can't say for the RSPDX. I will have to test it out. There's one aspect where my ICOM, which costs $2,000, does better. And when I tune amateur radio satellites, even though I do hear him here, even though they have a decent signal, I have noticed that reception is slightly better, enough that it is actually more fun to tune around on the 8500. What else do we have? What else do we have? Matt says, I tuned into a Kiwi SDR in Fort Collins to see if I was hitting that area with FT8 on 40 meters back when WW0WWV special event station was on the air, just to be sure I had a chance. Yeah, that's the way of checking it. Absolutely. Christian Fella, nice to have you here. 6931 upper sideband pirate. Indeed. Not bad of a signal. 6931 upper sideband coming in well. RFDXer 6931 upper sideband pirate S7 in Southeast Colorado. Wow. With a Walbrook and ICOM ICR 75. Nice. What else do we have? RFDXer, take care. Choppy audio. That's weird. Matt says, as cool as waterfalls are, there's fun in just tuning with a blind receiver. My ICOM IC7100 has taken over as the radio of choice for that. 30X playing a weird song, 6931. Rick Satter, how long can you use a computer before it becomes outdated? Man, depends what you do with it. Honestly, I have 10-year-old laptops here that are still good to do a lot of things and go on the internet and just work great. You know, my SDR here is running on a that's interesting, choppy audio. Running on a, let me just check it out here. I'm going to tune myself on my phone. See if I have choppy audio. It looks okay. But who knows? Who knows what's happening? Could be YouTube. Could be YouTube. Bit crackly, but not choppy. Okay. Oh, a kind of static song. Like the other day, you guys, probably the way that Google Chrome actually does it. Chumley Page. Been hearing a lot of Asian shortwave radio in this part of the USA on his ICOM IC 7300. Huh, interesting. So, anything? I think it's the way that the browser the browser is actually compressing the audio. At some point, something happens. That's why I need to use software and not use Google Chrome browser to do it. Paul messing with the controls. Hey guys, we've been on for what, 3 hours and 3 minutes? Hope you enjoyed the show. I'm gonna take it easy for the rest of the night. I'm gonna have to go and cook my salmons, and hope that you enjoyed the show today. Hey V3KRP, Fast Eddie. Sorry to leave you. So I want to say thank you so much, everybody, for being great fans. It was a lot of fun to be here. And we are going to come back next week. I don't know if we are going to be here Sunday. Like I said, don't expect a Sunday show. But if it's there, it's there. And if it's not there, well, it's not there. But we'll see. For the rest, well, we have 2 shows a week. Don't forget. Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 0 UTC. And Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 20 hours UTC. Pirate on 6931 upper sideband. Don't forget that. And thanks, everybody. So we'll try that next week. A analog only show. Let's see how long I'll be able to not go crazy tuning only analog radios. So take care, my friends. Always nice to have you on board, and stay safe, okay? It's important to do so, to stay safe. Bye-bye, everybody.